What the heck is a lipid profile? Hello, Nation. On the last Edelman Report, trust me, you don't want to have a heart attack. We talked about the risk factors for heart disease. We talked about the ABCs, A for aspirin, B for blood pressure. And today we're going to talk about the big C, cholesterol levels. Now, it gets complicated. There are several different types of cholesterol levels in our body. But first of all, let's talk about proper screening. It's pretty easy, a blood test, but you have to be fasting. What does that mean? Nothing for 8 hours. Typically, you get your blood tested in the morning after not eating anything since midnight, and before you eat anything in the morning. You're allowed to have water, but nothing more than that may mess up the measurements of the cholesterol levels. Now, what are the four different types? The one we talk about most is called the LDL cholesterol, L for lousy. It's the one highly responsible for heart attacks and strokes. Typically, we like folks with diabetes to be less than 100 milligrams per deciliter. That's just the unit. Now, if you already have heart disease, we say the lower the better, less than 70. And the main class of medications to lower LDL is called the statins. I take atorvastatin. It's also called Lipitor. There's probably 5 or 6 of them. It's one of the most important discoveries in American medicine and has led to the reduction in heart disease in the US and around the world. Now, what about HDL cholesterol? H I like to remember as high because the higher the better. This is a protective cholesterol. You want this level as high as possible. Now, unfortunately, for people with type 2 diabetes, their HDL levels are actually much lower than normal. However, if you treat the HDL and bring it up, you can reduce your chances for heart disease. Now, here's the thing. Mother Nature has HDL by the, well, I better not say it on the Edelman Report. It's very tough to raise your HDL levels. It pretty much is determined by your family history. But we do know that exercise, and believe it or not, 2 alcoholic drinks a day will raise your HDL levels. And that's also very important to know. And remember that we're trying to improve the ratios, not just each individual level. So we look at the LDL to HDL ratio. We look at all kinds of other ratios. And if you can't budge one type of cholesterol, then you try to budge the other one to improve your ratio. Now, what the heck are triglycerides? Triglycerides are another form of fat in your body, and typically when you eat fatty foods, those levels go up pretty high. And it's very important to get an accurate measure of your triglycerides because it's used in a formula to calculate your LDL cholesterol. And we have very good drugs to lower triglyceride values. And once again, people with type 2 diabetes typically have high triglyceride, low HDL levels. And if you bring the triglycerides down, the HDL goes up. So it's kind of like a win-win situation. Now, what about the fourth measurement that you typically see? It's called the total cholesterol. Now, the total cholesterol is made up in part of the other cholesterol levels that I've described to you. So for example, the total cholesterol is made up in part from your LDL and HDL, and it can be very misleading. So as a doctor, I hardly ever look at the total cholesterol. So here's an example. Let's just say that you have very low HDL. That's the protective cholesterol. That's bad. But yet, since that HDL makes up the total, your total may not look that bad either. You might be lulled into a false sense of security. So as you can see, treating cholesterol is not only extremely important, but it's also complicated. Let me refer you to this excellent book written by a very prominent writer. Oh yeah, it's me. Chapter 14. If you don't have this book, go to our website and order it. It is the Bible. So until next time, so long, nation.